Hi guys, I'm just here doing a little bit of a final wrap up from the CLO Symposium, and apologies for the camera angle. I'm not sure I've got this quite right here. But CLO Symposium, Florida, Amelia Island, Florida. It's been a fantastic event. Had some really fascinating conversations with attendees, and there's been some great sessions, some keynotes, some breakouts, some panels. Wanted to share with you some of the highlights and things that have really resonated with me. Habits, of course, are such a key part of learning, transfer and behavioural change. We had a fascinating speaker, Gretchen Rubin, talking about habits on day one. Gretchen spoke about the 21 different ways that people change their habits and the 4 types of people that like to change habits in different ways. So basically her premise was that there's 21 different ways that people can be triggered to change habits, but it depends which category they fall into. I really loved some of her analogies when she talked about people that can either, the abstainers or the moderators, so someone that either has to have absolutely no chocolate cake at all or one small piece of chocolate a day to keep them on their behavioural change and their habit piece. Anyway, I'm going to be blogging about that in the near future, I'm sure of it. So watch this space for more about habits and Gretchen Rubin. One of the other fascinating trends that's been going on at this conference here is comparing learning in small startup companies and some of the larger enterprise organisations. So we've heard from a guy at Flightcar who actually does engagement surveys every month, compared to some of the bigger organisations here that actually do engagement surveys once every 2 years. So how fascinating is that? And there's definitely lessons that can be learned from the speed of change, the speed of recruitment, the speed of training, the speed of learning in small startup organisations. So that's been very interesting to fuel the conversation here. There's been a lot of talk about measurement, analytics, big data. We had some fascinating conversation from Brenda at EY, just talking about the way they've made impact with the analytics and measurements that they've done of their programs. And in fact, the 2 key themes that I see coming through are measurement and culture. Everyone is talking about how you need to make your work relevant to businesses and measure the impact of your initiatives, but also how culture plays such a central role within this. Interestingly, there was a lot of talk around leadership yesterday. Jeffrey Pfeffer was the keynote speaker in the morning. He challenged everyone at the appalling spend that we've got on leadership training in terms of the amount that's spent and the little change that we get. Very light on the how-to though. Jeffrey's an academic and has written 4 or 5 books at least. So yes, very high on the research and the data, but little on the how-to. But this was quickly then followed by a panel talking about leadership and leadership learning. Fascinating insights. We had the Chief Learning Officer of Accenture sharing how they're changing all their performance reviews and again moving away from a traditional performance review structure. Very much talking more about pull content rather than push content, and talking about their balance between time to learn and learning all the time. So some really fascinating insights from Accenture. Excuse me while I check my notes, because I also wanted to share, the panel also spoke about need for compassion within learning. There was a sort of a tension between Jeffrey's view on authenticity, which he felt kind of would get leaders into trouble, and some of the panelists' view on authenticity being at the forefront of learning and a key to leadership change. So interesting intakes on authenticity. We also had some really great little 15-minute vignettes telling us about inside other people's companies. So we saw a little bit about General Motors and really catching up with some of the banks in the US, what's happening here. Today's final piece has been a Family Feuds panel show based on questions from the audience, followed by an interesting discussion of experienced learning leaders and newer learning leaders. And of course what came out of this was this issue around the title between talent development, talent excellence, learning, and of course training is long gone now. But I was really pleased that behavioural change came onto that agenda, and they were talking about whether behavioural change and behavioural science and the relevance of that to learning. So I'm looking forward to that being part of the conversation going forward, but very excited to have been here at the CLO Symposium in Florida this week. I've taken copious notes. There's going to be blog articles coming out. There'll be more information being following, I'm sure. And look forward to reconnecting with everyone when I get back to sunny Sydney. Best wishes all, and thanks for joining me for today's little update. Emma from Lever, Transfer of Learning.